You have a website,
Thanks. Yeah.
Louis C.K.'s Bad Jokes.
That's right. Well, it's called louisck.com, and there's a lot of things on it. One of them is that I've started to write bad jokes. People hate them. I get hate mail.
Right.
These are horrible jokes.
Right, right.
You know, you suck. I hate you.
Right.
But since I put them on the site, I got a spike. I get so many hits. It's unbelievable.
This is great. Can we hear it?
Okay, so here's a couple. Okay. Why can't a soldier look wistfully across the ocean?
Why can't a soldier look wistfully across the ocean?
Because there's no gays in the military. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Even knowing this was going to be bad, I can't help but grimace a little when the punchline crackles. Perhaps you had the same experience. Louis' self-awareness that he's written something so worthy of the garbage bin it's not even funny, and Conan's always delightful reaction softens the blow a little, and you might find that a devious chuckle surfaces before you nervously look around to see if anyone caught you laughing at that joke, precisely for how terrible it is. I hope I'm not alone here. But why is that joke terrible? What makes it so? Perhaps there's two reasons. First of all, most stand-up comics don't really tell jokes anymore. I mean jokes, like three guys walk into a bar. Norm Macdonald, known for some of the most famous jokes, says as much.
You know, they call like a comedian's act jokes, but they haven't been jokes for years. You know, it changed with Alan King to observational comedy. You know, like talking about crabgrass in your neighbor's fucking yard or something.
The formulaic structure of one-liners make them short and easy to memorize, and you can actually take one into a bar to tell people, although good luck getting them entertained. The problem with one-liners, or at least the bad ones, is that they can feel artificial, like something pulled out of your pocket instead of an expression of who you are. For a long time now, comedians have walked on stage and convinced us they speak funny off the cuff, even though we know that each word and delivery might have took the comic hours upon hours to hone. We prefer comedy that feels authentic and spontaneous, as if they sprung from the personality of the comic and not from their writing rooms. As the literary critic Terry Eagleton wrote, a wit is one who is habitually witty, whereas gags or wisecracks are sporadic affairs. So it makes sense that when trying to write a bad joke, Louis chose to amp up the artifice by using a one-liner. But there's a more crucial reason why this joke isn't funny, and that has to do with the link between humor and morality. Think about the often repeated catchphrase that comedians push the boundary, where they can cross a line if they're not careful. We expect our comedians to be experts at dancing their way around morality without stepping on any toes. This is what the research indicates. For several years now, the Humor Research Lab at the University of Colorado has championed what they call benign violation theory. And it works like this. We find a situation funny if it is, first, a violation. Something ruptures a social norm, disturbs your sense of normalcy, subverts your expectations, or breaks a moral standard. Humor is a testimony telling us what's wrong, either with the world or with our expectations about it. When Sacha Baron Cohen does crazy stuff, you know that the world is not supposed to be like this, but it is, so you laugh. But at the same time, the joke needs to be benign. That is, no immediate threat is revealed by the joke, at least not in the moment. This is why mishaps and accidents don't appear funny at the time, but years later we can laugh at them. Psychological distance turns catastrophe into comedy. Mel Brooks once said, "Tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall into an open sewer and die." But the opposite is true with more mundane misadventures. Big mishaps are funnier at a distance, but small mishaps are funnier up close, because it can be more of a disruption to the pace of your own life without being a source of hazard. This is why seeing your friend trip up the stairs is funnier than with a stranger whose follies you don't really care about. With comedy, you always want to strike the perfect balance between intimacy and distance, risk and safety, agitation and consolation. When it comes to politics, this is why many writers have highlighted the subversive and progressive nature of comedy, while others believe it serves the status quo. This is because comedy can challenge our grasp of reality, jolting us into realizing that the world is absurd, something is not quite right with it, and yet at the same time it pushes us to make light of the situation, to feel safe and secure, bringing a sense of relaxation and complacency.
Why can't a soldier look wistfully across the ocean?
Why can't a soldier look wistfully across the ocean?
Because there's no gaze in the military.
Now, maybe you did find this joke funny, or maybe you didn't. According to benign violation theory, it depends on how intimidated you are by the issue of discrimination in the military. Remember, Louis told this joke back in 2001, when the subject of the joke was more ethically imminent. In 1993, the Clinton administration passed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy that forbid the US military from investigating any closeted service members' sexual orientation, but at the same time, it still barred anyone who openly identified. It wasn't until 2011 that this policy was repealed. In December 2010, the House and Senate passed a bill to remove all restrictions against queer people from serving in the military. So when Louis C.K. went on Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 2001, the issue of homosexuality in the military was still a very living problem. Benign violation theory explains why we need humor in our lives. In a hectic and unyielding world, violations to our sense of reason is bound to occur. The rules that we impose on how people should act and how the world should operate are comically precarious things. Reality doesn't bend to our expectations and ideals, and it has no qualms with reminding us now and then. This can make us angry and depressed, if not for the ability to make light of the situation. Laughing, after all, is a form of surrender, but instead of feeling woefully inadequate, you embrace the spontaneity of the moment and relish the surprises that catch you off guard. Being playfully roasted by your friend, for example, is a gentle way of reminding you that you're not perfect. Humor diminishes our overly stringent confidence that we have a handle on everything, and yet it leaves our sense of security untouched. Benign violation theory can also explain why humor often seems so subjective, that it varies by individual, and different cultures can find different things funny. This is because what is a violation to one person can appear too tame and boring to someone else, and what is a harmless joke to one can be offensive to another. In the sovereignty of comedy, everyone gets to vote. Of course, like with everything else, our differences can divide us, and our commonalities bring us together. This constant push and pull is what makes human societies so unpredictable, like a pot of chemical reactions swinging constantly from equilibrium to volatility and back to equilibrium. We are like ships trying to sail an ocean, at times merciful, other times cruel. In the end, when we're looking for a laugh, all we want is to be okay on the journey. And thank God we have humor to help us.